Yo guys, what's going on? Robert Warshack here, and we're going to be going over some top decks in this meta. The best decks in the game got a lot better in the sense of just the power level, how fast they win. These new cards and new quests just kind of took what was the previous already strong meta and propelled us into turn 5 through 8 OTK decks, and just an insane amount of value and damage pumping out of these new decks. And a lot of it revolves around the quest. So first things first, a spicy new brew that came of the new expansion has been the Quest Warlock. It originated with some hyper draw, sort of like field removal Warlock, and then it kind of transitioned into now what seems to be a Zoo Warlock that revolves around not only being able to throw up minions that deal damage to yourself to help you complete the quest, but it also has, you know, the Flesh Giants in there and the Knife Vendors, which is a ton of damage for a relatively low cost. So it moved to like more of a spell version to this now minion version. Both are probably still viable, and like I said, there's a couple renditions, some that run the Soul Jailers and stuff like that. There's a lot of different brews right now as we're still very early in the expansion and things will still keep getting refined. Taking a look at Mage. Mage is probably the most popular of all of the quests, and probably I don't want to say the best. Mage and Warlock are toe-to-toe right now, in my opinion, in just like how fast they can get it done. But Enchanter's Flow is one hell of a card. I wouldn't be surprised if that sees a nerf sometime in the future. Again, not sure yet, but this deck seems a little too finely tuned. You have Ignite, which is a new card, and it's basically infinite damage. You just can't stop it. Every time they play an Ignite, it puts another one in the deck. They draw it, it does more damage. Again, there's a couple different renditions to this deck. There's some that run like the Auctioneer package, and then like it draws through the Auctioneers to play a bunch of spells in one turn. This one's more of just an all spell version. Both are probably pretty viable. I prefer to play this one if I had the choice. This deck, very similar to the No Minion Mage before, but it's basically just better. It doesn't, like the old spell Mage would run out of damage right after the Apexis Blast, Mask of Cthunes, and Fireballs. That was it. If your opponent was still alive, you had no more cards. So this deck, infinite. This deck will inevitably win any game it plays as long as the game continues to go on because of infinite ignites, and it just keeps growing and doing more and more damage. You don't take fatigue damage. Yeah, this Mage deck completely just annihilates any sort of control deck, and it's you don't stand a chance. It's inevitable, basically OTK inside a anti-aggro freeze Mage shell with hyperdraw. Like, this Mage deck is fucking nuts. Taking a look at some Shaman here. Unfortunately, the Elemental Shaman was one of the best decks in the previous meta, and with the new cards, obviously, it's probably just going to get better, and it did. It didn't really get any new cards in the sense of big changes besides the Auction House Gavel, I believe, and the Forgeborn, but besides that, the deck functions exactly as it did before. It just got a little bit, I guess, faster and better with those cards because they just synergize even more with the elemental deck. For this particular deck, there's not really too much to say as it did exist prior to this meta. So you play the green card and then you win with this deck. There's not a whole lot of big brain stuff you can do. And I would also like to mention the other Shaman deck that's roaming around. I figured I would put both renditions. This is the Doomhammer one. Both are probably very viable. This one's just a hell of a lot more budget, which is going to go in our top budget video, which will probably be posted shortly after this, but I thought I would mention the Doomhammer version. Obviously, those are the two most popular and best Shaman decks right now. And if you were to play one, both, again, if you're on a budget, play the budget one. If not, and you want to play some new cards, go with the one that runs two new cards, right? Taking a look at Paladin. So Paladin did get a new skin to it, and it's very, very good, and it seems to be very, very fun as well. Playing some thick daddy minions is always not a bad time. I'm glad we've moved away from the Libram package and moved towards something that actually involves playing cards that don't just continuously produce infinite value. This actually requires you to play minions with Divine Shield, and then, you know, it buffs minions in your hand and then play them correctly and whatnot. So this new buff Paladin with that new Prismatic Jewel kit is just pretty nuts on turn one if you get that down and you follow it up with some Divine Shield minions. I've had a couple other Paladin players, they're dropping like 15-15, 20-20s on me by turn like 7 or 8 with the new High Lord Paladin Legendary, that every time a Divine Shield is popped, it gives a minion in the hand +5/+5, which is just absolutely insane. So buff Paladin back on the menu. It makes sense. Paladin's mostly always been about buffing, and this deck utilizes Divine Shield and buffing to the absolute max. And then we have the last deck on the list here. This deck seemingly never goes away, and it's always in every meta, but there needs to be a viable option for those Hunter players out there, and that's just going to be the Face Hunter deck. It got a couple new inclusions, not too many. I believe Aim Shot is a new inclusion to the deck, along with what seems to be nothing else. So Face Hunter hasn't really changed that much, but Aim Shot's a hell of a card. I've been working on a Quest Hunter, but it does not seem to be as good as this Face Hunter variant. And Face Hunter is really good right now because of all the Warlocks and Mages and stuff like that. With Warlock hurting itself until the quest is complete, Hunters take advantage of that. I mean, Hunters like to close out the game on turn anywhere between 3 to 6, while the Warlock and Mage quests are, you know, they're getting completed around turn 5 or 6, but they're dead by then, right? So the Face Hunter deck is cleaning up all of those like control farming decks right now. So the meta is very, very shifty right now. There's a lot of people playing a lot of different stuff, but these 5 classes and 5 different decks we covered seem to be what's pulling ahead from the rest and what a lot of players are playing and having huge success with. So if there's anything I didn't happen to cover that you guys think is an up and comer, please leave that in the comment section below. I'm looking for deck brews. I'm looking for them spicy new cards and decks that they fit into. So with that, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed it or like any of these decks, feel free to leave a like or something. It really helps the video. And with that, I'm Robert Warshack, and happy whatever the hell day it is.